It's Diana. At the intersection of food and literature, getting ready to do the food part with the sweet potatoes or yams that go with the story Cajun Night Before Christmas. I've already baked my my yams. I always call them sweet potatoes. I don't quite know the difference. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to probably end up calling them sweet potatoes. Like this, okay, now going to the story. Like this story where she bakes her yams. I did that. I did not do it over a fire or in a fire. I did it in the oven. This is my grandmother's handwriting, the recipe that we always used since I was a kid for Thanksgiving sweet potatoes and Christmas sweet potatoes, just the holiday sweet potatoes. She credits Flo, probably can't see it, Flo O'Brien, who was a neighbor down the street. I remember her too. I love recipes that get passed down several times. So it's also very easy. I make it beforehand sometimes because it can be like a 3-day process. Bake the yams. Confession, I have used the canned yams, and the recipe calls for canned yams. The reason I don't like it, actually it just says 3 cups of sweet potatoes. Okay, that was the sound of the cat. I gotta move the cat. Not allowed on the counter. Ah! What the heck, dude? I know, that's not where you go. The thing I don't like about the canned sweet potatoes is that no matter what brand, they're packed in syrup, and it's just too much. I mean, the recipe itself, we would always joke that this casserole really belonged on the dessert table every year. We never put it there. We put it with it. So it has sugar and butter and then a topping. So I don't like the cans because it's just so much more sugar. The negative to making the sweet potatoes from scratch, you don't make this, just using sweet potatoes and baking them it's another step of baking the sweet potatoes. But it can be broken up into days. Like I already did the baking of the sweet potatoes and I mushed them. Second day can be what I do today, and that's putting all the ingredients together, then putting it in a casserole dish. It can be covered and then put in the refrigerator to pull out for when you're ready to bake it, or it can be frozen. I froze the one for Thanksgiving and then took it out. I am going to use one like this. I did it, it's easy. If you're doing a potluck and you have to bring something easy, you don't have to get it back, that kind of thing. But it can also go into a casserole dish. All right, ingredients, very loud. Sweet potato, oh, another thing. I think my mother, when she would make this for our Thanksgivings were large. I remember one Thanksgiving, I'm talking fast because I'm trying to get it all in, where the count was 25 and somebody said it's a small Thanksgiving. Now our Thanksgivings are much smaller, but my mother would like quadruple the recipe, and it does take a long time to bake. I usually double the recipe. I have another confession. I don't like the sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows on it. One time, Michael sometimes will make the sweet potatoes. He does not use this recipe. He uses a different recipe. And I called this one the real sweet potatoes. I didn't mean to, it just came out. It was in my brain and it came out my mouth. All right, enough of that. So here's the recipe without doubling it. 3 cups of sweet potatoes mashed, a cup of sugar, a half a cup of butter melted, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, a 1/4 cup of milk. That gets all mixed together and put in a casserole. Then it has a topping that's not marshmallows. The topping is brown sugar, all-purpose flour, butter, and pecans. So I'm going to get a big bowl to mix everything, and it just goes right in there. I simultaneously love old recipes and also see a weakness in them. And they weren't, okay, so I'll explain. I love them. I love that this recipe has been passed down 1, 2, 3, probably 4. I'm hoping my kids will make this 4 generations, and that I know all the people. Now I don't know where it came from Miss Flo O'Brien, but I know Flo O'Brien. I know my grandmother. I know my mother. I know me, and I just love that. There's history in this. There's history in the paper. This is one of the things I said I wanted when my grandmother died. And one of my aunts said something like, we can write it down in better people. I'm like, no, it's her handwriting. The weakness is there's very little instructions. This literally has the list of ingredients and then pretty much what I said, mix well, comma, in 2-quart casserole. I'm not going to mix it in the casserole. I'm going to mix it in a bowl. That to me is much easier. But it doesn't say what order to mix it in, anything. So I am going to, I don't think it would hurt to just put it all together and mix, but I'm going to mix the way makes sense to me from other cooking. I will probably, the butter, it does say to melt the butter. I will probably put butter, sugar, eggs, and mix that before putting in the sweet potatoes. I just realized this recipe has no salt in it. I've never thought of that as I've never thought, this needs salt, so I'm not gonna add it. Okay, mixing. I have mushed with a potato masher. This is something, peeled. Oh, good Lord, please peel. Do peel the sweet potatoes. Peel them. Peel the sweet potatoes and a potato masher. Mash, 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 mash. And then leveled it off to make sure I have 6 cups, because again, I'm doubling it. I'm gonna now add my butter. It's melted. I love this little pot. You can't scale. It's very small. Sweet potatoes are now in the bowl with the other stuff. Oh, I can. It looks like the butter is starting to chill. Anyway. I've never thought so hard about how I'm going to mix this stuff. It's weird. I whisked everything until I got to the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are too thick to whisk, and I am using, it's got a spatula. Not exactly folding because I don't need to be careful of anything. Once this is all incorporated, I will put it into the casserole dish, and then the only thing left is to make the topping. It can be cooked right after that, or like I said, it can be put in the refrigerator till the next day or in the freezer till the next week. Christmas is a few weeks away, so I'm going to freeze this one. There is no point in making it. It is too much for Michael and I to eat just by ourselves. There are lumps in here. I didn't put the potatoes through a food processor. I don't mind the lumps. Okay, going to pour it into the casserole. It will almost fill it. And then I'm going to make the topping. Sweet potatoes all in the pan. All in the pan. If I lean it too much, they'll spludrel out. And now I'm making the topping. Again, doubling it. It's flour. I've already put that in there. And now I need a cup of brown sugar. Oh, this is so much better than marshmallows, in my opinion. Oh, look, I wasn't even there. Okay. Besides that, I've melted more butter. Now, it's supposed to be, a single recipe is 1.5 tablespoons of butter. So it would be 3. I'm going to go ahead and do 4 because I have half sticks packaged that way, and it's just easier. Then I don't have one little sad tablespoon of butter hanging out in the refrigerator. And pecan pieces. Here are all my topping ingredients. I'm going to mix it with my hands. And usually when I do these videos, I make the food all the way to the end and eat it. But like I said, this time I'm not. I'm just going to put it in the freezer for Christmas. And that kind of is what happens with this. When it bakes, I'm going to talk about when it bakes. When it bakes, it's a long bake. And because the whole thing needs to kind of solidify, and it goes from the out in, so sometimes the in is a little too jiggly. I also watch out for the brown sugar on the edges because it can start to burn a little bit or get darker than I want it to be before the inside is solid. So I will watch it and then cover it if it gets to be too brown on the edges. Right, now I'm going to cover this sweet potato topping with the topping, and then I will cover it several times and put it in the freezer. This is much fancier than baking the yams in an open fire. I think that's it. My hands are very dirty now, and I'm gonna put the thing on, the sugar on the thing, like what I just said, and we're gonna come back and do the analysis, which I'm pretty sure is gonna be talking about place. And I will see y'all later. Hopefully you're making some wonderful holiday family recipes too this time of year. And if you aren't, maybe somebody is sharing some with you. Okay, see y'all later. Bye.